Route 616, your home for all things Marvel main continuity. Hello, everybody. This is Route 616. This is episode 29. I am RJ, and I'm here with my co-host, if I could speak. First up is Bill. Say hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
And this week... You finally did it. And this week we have Dan. We didn't think we were going to for a moment, but we have Dan, who is the man who is old enough that he feuded with George Hackenschmidt back in the day. So I'm glad it played out. I'm glad it worked.
I was not expecting you to go there, even though I was on old wrestlers for what you were going to call Dan. I was not thinking 1902.
That was exclusively to make Bill laugh.
And it worked.
That's cruel.
That was a deep cut on you, Dan.
If
only you.
So.
If only you had the reference.
No, not a clue what you're talking about.
You forgot the references after a headshot from Gotch.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways, we're here to talk comics and not make too many obscure wrestling jokes, but there might be some. No promises.
There will be some.
This week we have 7 entries to cover, and we're going to start off with Strange Tales issue number 120. It feels like it's been a little bit since we've done a Strange Tales issue. We have a Human Torch story for the A story, which is actually an important Torch story, and then we have a Doctor Strange story for the B story. Amazing Spider-Man number 13 is an important issue. That should be an exciting cover.
No, it's really not. Don't listen to him.
We meet an important villain. And Tales of Suspense, issue number 53. The A story focuses on Iron Man and the return of Black Widow back for redemption, or vengeance, however you want to look at it. And then a 5-pager that's not the worst. Then we end on the highest note possible of Tales to Astonish, issue number 56.
Also not a high note.
It's really not. Just wait. With a Giant Man story and a Wasp story. I'm just gaslighting them a little bit. Don't worry about it.
Just a touch. Just a touch.
Did you know that's word of
But
the year?
I do the intro. Good. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to cover a bunch of crap.
We don't want to scare any possible viewers away, too.
It's all crap.
We got to try to
Using
salvage it.
video, Ryan, that's probably happening anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but... So some people we might get lucky and they might click a Spotify link or something.
If either of you starts playing Climbing That Hill, I swear to God, I'll go find you and beat you.
Do you mean Running Up the Hill?
Whatever it's called. I'm sick and tired of hearing the
Moira
song.
hates that song too. So.
God. And you know what the worst part of this is? I was always a huge fan of Kate Bush. She has such an amazing voice. She's a brilliant vocalist. Probably one of the best pop vocalists that's ever lived. But Stranger Things has just destroyed her legacy with this crap.
You're just looking at it in the most negative way possible, just because it's being overplayed.
Stupid, ad just ruined the joke.
Anyways, I guess we shall get into covering these comics. We're glad to have Dan back.
Can you mute Bill?
I mean, I could, but
You should.
I do have that power, but I don't want to abuse it or anything. So, anyways, we'll get started with Strange Tales number 120, the A story, which is called "The Torch Meets the Iceman." Yes, that is why this issue is important. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course. Well, actually, I believe this is the last issue that Jack Kirby ever does of Strange Tales. I believe there's a note somewhere that I read. I don't know where I saw that. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. And Dick Ayers is on inks here, and the cover art's by Jack Kirby in this case. Letters by Sam Rosen. This is a March 1964 release, and a 14-page story that Dan is going to cover.
Yeah, in about 4
Don't fall
sentences.
asleep. No.
What?
So don't fall asleep.
Yeah, okay, we're going to cover this. This is really short and sweet. Again, this
literally
is
like nothing happens. It's just the importance of the Torch and Iceman, and it's just fun. It's brief and fun to read.
Okay, well, I've got coming off the Marvel database here, synopsis for The Torch Meets Iceman. When both the Human Torch and the Iceman take the same cruise in New York Harbor, for some reason, maybe they're hoping to meet a girl,
Okay, so
That
that's
is why
where
Bobby's there.
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
Bobby is
Johnny
at, there,
took Doris,
that's-
and Bobby went to try to pick up chicks
Oh,
Yeah.
because he needs to compensate for retcons that will come in 70 years.
Yeah, girls find he comes across a little cold, so. No reaction. Wow, I'm losing my touch. Okay.
I wish your
a
sound
spat-
didn't work.
Sorry, buddy, I figured out the problem. Well, they're taking this cruise. A spat between the elemental supers breaks out over Johnny's date, Dory Evans. Oh, so they found Dory, and now they're going to fight over her. However, their rivalry for the girl's affections ends when the ship is raided by Captain Barracuda and his men. Wow. Talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel.
The villains aren't important in this.
No.
Although they do bring Barracuda back a fair bit.
Yeah. The two heroes team up and use their powers to take down Barracuda and his crew. But quickly, following the battle, Iceman has to leave in order to protect a secret identity. You can explain that one to me after I'm done. Afterwards, the Torch realizes he has a newfound respect for his polar opposite. That's all I got. That's literally
that is
the
brief.
entire write-up.
Yeah.
Not hard to tell it was a short little blurb in the comic. Bill,
I mean,
you still with us?
that's pretty much what happens. This is a battle issue through and through. It's just
Okay.
them
Just a
using
fight.
their powers to fight
cool ways.
Barracuda's gang of thugs.
It's just about them throwing jabs at one another before becoming friends, essentially, and blah, blah, blah. Well, when Doris and Johnny were, loading onto the ship and whatever, they're poking fun at the X-Men, and especially Iceman, because Doris makes a comment like he must be a ladies' man or something like that, and so that's kind of the running theme. But then Iceman's alone and actually is there to find a lady, so...
Yeah, and he tries to pick up Doris, and it goes about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah. Okay. But that was, like I say, that was really short and sweet. But
Yeah, but I mean, that's all that's necessary. This is literally something like 10 pages of fighting.
yeah, and I'd say it's also expanding the Marvel universe a little bit for people, like for the
Yeah.
readers. Crossovers can occasionally be fun.
And this
There
is
are-
one of the ones that is really fun. I think this is probably the best solo Torch issue of Strange Tales.
Yeah,
I could possibly agree with that.
one of the things I always liked about comics, like with Marvel Team Up and DC's Brave and the Bold, was the fact that they were putting different characters together in unlikely pairings. Where you sit there and go, hey, that's really cool. Putting the Hulk and the Thing together, for a fight somewhere. Or Batman and Green Lantern or whatever.
Hulk and Green Arrow.
Yeah, Hulk and Green Arrow. There you go. No, I think you're kind of missing something there, buddy.
As in Hawk and Dove.
Yeah. Oh, Hawk. I thought you
Yeah,
said
Hawk. I can't pronounce my... that
Well,
was
they did a
pronunciation.
Batman and Dazzler issue, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
I
they
think it
had
was
an
Dazzler.
actual
Was it
formal
Dazzler?
crossover. I think it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
They had some weird choices on the crossover, but they did an actual formal crossover with the two, sanctioned
I
by
know-
both companies.
Yeah, because I know they Marvel and DC crossed over with the X-Men Teen Titans.
Well,
Yeah,
they
So
did
it was actually
did
really good.
they did amalgam in the comics in the 90s.
Yes, but we're talking about the good crossover.
Well, they did Marvel versus DC, which then turned into amalgam comics essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
It led
amalgam
into-
comics were generally not good, though.
No,
I've heard.
but,
I haven't read any of them.
Anyway, having said all that, it's nice to kind of expand the universe a bit. It's kind of a stupid story, but
So you could say that
Yeah,
was a
this
nice
was a
cold start to the
3-star
podcast.
book.
Oh, sorry. Say that again in English. It was a what star book?
3-star.
The hell are you smoking?
I gave it 4.
This story was really good.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for it.
The worst part about the issue is the shitty villains, which if you ignore that, it's just a fun, brief issue. I sped through this issue like it was nothing.
Yeah. The villain
I-
truly doesn't matter in this issue.
I'll say the same thing Captain Barracuda said,
He said something? No.
and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to keep sawing your puns like I'm about to get my ass beat in a giant Baba match.
Okay, on to the next one, guys.
The B story of Strange Tales number 120, which is called The House of Shadows. Steve Ditko takes over art duties, of course, for the B stories. This is Doctor Strange. One of his boys, let's go. And Sam Rosen does letters on this one as well. This is a 9-page story. Whoa. And off
It
we
might
go
be
to
one
races.
of his boys, but he clearly only had like 6 hours to draw this thing.
We are promised this is a tale of eerie enchantment told in the Marvel manner. Blockhead Steven here. Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, the art in this one is not good.
We see Doctor Strange walking towards what is being built up as a haunted house that there's a news crew at to film, as one of their reporters is going to go into the house and report. They're mic'd up and everything. They're going to report on they're going to talk about what they see as they enter the house. I don't think they send the full-on camera crew and they just mic them up.
No,
they
just
think it's
a
going to be
reporter with a mic.
It's because it's supposed to be a bit, but the bit turns into a reality, and there's a crowd surrounding the house watching as all this happens, and Doctor Strange is in the crowd too, and he's watching because he knows something bad's going to happen here. So the reporter enters the house, and it's supposed to just be this one big hoax and joke and everything. He's just going to make up shit as he goes and blah blah blah, but it turns out the house is actually fucking haunted, man. So Doctor Strange goes into his corporeal form to go inside the house for a moment before going back to his body. Then he uses his amulet to scope things out and get a vision to see what the reporter sees. And before too long, the reporter is seen trapped in his place in fear at what he sees. So Doctor Strange is forced to go into this haunted house to save this reporter, which he uses his amulet to break into the place. I guess that they lock it. I don't. Who cares? Story details don't matter. He goes into the house and it's very misty and you can't see really in there. Suddenly there's kind of a cage of light almost around him. He's kind of trapped momentarily before he breaks out of that. And he keeps moving before he has a voice that speaks out. It's like, oh no, he says, "You've witnessed my power, and it's greater than yours." And a voice speaks, and he's like, "You dare speak to me like this?"
Bitch.
So we see what the deal is that the house is actually alive. The house is a living being, and that has this power, and that's the deal here. It's holding the reporter in place. Now that he's entered, he has power over him, everything. So Doctor Strange strikes the deal that to have the house release the human, and so they can just play it off that the house is not. So they can play it off, and nobody will know that the house is a living being, and will hopefully just leave the house alone from now on. And so Doctor Strange makes his way back out after the reporter saved, and they make the deal. Oh, and part of the deal is that. Oh no, I think that's not part of the deal. So he comes out of the house and he uses his magic. He throws his cloak up and uses magic to make the house. To teleport the house away or whatever, which I don't think was part of the deal, but was something that Strange did after he got out. So he kind of turned heel on the house there, but yeah. So that's pretty much the story.
Yeah,
It's a unique one. It's
The
one of the more
first
unique ones.
7.5 pages of this were really good and atmospheric, and then they had to explain what was going on, and the wheels completely fell off.
Yeah, the wheels do fall off the story pretty hard. That's I was struggling to explain it to you because I'm like, I know what happens here to an extent, but it's like it's just fucked up and it happens real fast too. So.
yeah, but I mean, you're right. It is unique. It kind of goes some places that you would like to see it go.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange in a more mundane environment.
It could have used, if they gave this concept more thought and it had more pages to play out, it could have been really good. Saying that, I still gave this a 3 because I still had fun enough reading it. So
yeah, this one averaged to a 3. I think the setup was in high 4 territory because it was completely atmospheric and you never saw the entity.
Yeah.
And so they were making you wonder what was in that house.
Yeah.
And then when you see it, and part of this I think was just the rush nature of the art in this issue too, when you see the shittily drawn face on the house, and then it's just like, oh, I'm an entity from another dimension and I disguised myself as a house so people wouldn't get suspicious. It's just like, oh, that was your payoff? So all of a sudden it fell down to 2 stars territory, so I split it at 3.
Yeah,
but you should have just made it Baron Mordo.
God. No, I just
Mordo
like
would
the
have been
fact,
better.
I just like the fact that they bring it a little bit more into the real world, like Doctor Strange, where he's able to sort of become more involved in everyday life.
Yeah.
Right, he's there with a TV crew. It's not him off in some mystical dimension, battling with some mystical creature. He's here in the real world battling with some alien creature. So it is a departure.
It is.
Okay,
So let's move on to the next one, which is, Bill's big moment. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 13, which is titled The Menace of Mysterio. Yes, that's the villain we are meeting in this issue that I teased earlier.
Well, meeting again. We've already met him once.
Yes. Yeah. Bill, we're going to get into that, buddy. Come on. So Stanley and Steve Ditko title, of course. The only other contributors, Artie Simic on letters. March 1964 released a 22-page story, and we'll let Bill masterfully explain this one.
What a crap cover.
Let me look at that again.
I think it's actually a pretty good cover, except for that little bit at the bottom.
I was going to say it would be better if it didn't have the bottom piece on it.
That drives me nuts. I hate that.
Yeah, the main panel is actually a really good cover.
You would have loved Marvel Now.
Right.
Oh, just wait till we get to the issue of Iron Man where they ran short on pages, so they literally used the cover as the first page of the story. Anyway, this story opens with Spider-Man robbing someone. And he climbs up onto the roof with his bag of loot stuck in his belt. And a bunch of cops are up there and pull their guns on him. So he webs them up and swings off. And this gets put out into the press. And so everyone's turning on Spider-Man, deciding he must be a criminal. And Jonah is demanding that they fish all the old editorials he wrote about Spider-Man out and reprint them so that everyone can see how right he is.
Mm-hmm.
And Betty is baffled because she met Spider-Man, and the person she met didn't seem like he'd do that.
I think he looked exactly like he'd do it.
And then we head
disillusioned.
And then we head over to Peter's high school.
Topic.
Where everyone's turned on Spider-Man except for Flash, who still believes that he must be innocent because Flash is a massive fangirl.
Don't skip over the fact that somewhere here pretty early on, Peter immediately thinks that maybe he actually is, maybe he's become, has a split personality and is like committing crimes in his sleep. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I was just going to get there. That was the next page. It takes him 3 panels to think that maybe he's actually doing it. Which, to be fair, makes sense because there's actually video of someone Spider-Manning around the city.
He's like, there would never be another spider person.
Laughs in 2022.
Yeah. Anyways.
So back on topic. He tries to stay up all night that night because he's terrified that if he falls asleep, he'll go commit another crime. But it doesn't work, and he falls asleep and wakes up the next morning to a news report about how Spider-Man has struck again through the night. So he puts on his Spider-Man costume and heads over to the office of a nearby psychiatrist who's super excited to treat him because he can have a superhero and pick through his brain, write a whole bunch of papers about him. So, not exactly concerned for the patient there.
No.
But
somebody like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Peter realizes before he accepts the treatment that if he started getting therapy, the psychiatrist would inevitably find out who he was and, violate the Hippocratic Oath and tell absolutely everyone who he was.
I think Dan would do that.
And so Peter sulks his way over to the Bugle and snaps at Betty and then tries to borrow money from Jonah, but Jonah won't give him any money because they need money to pay the mortgage on the house. And since Jonah won't give him any money unless he gives him the secret of how he gets the pictures of Spider-Man, Peter leaves and puts back on his Spider-Man costume and goes swinging around the city where a mob immediately attacks him and starts chasing him. So he hides somewhere and turns back into his civilian garb and starts he's walking to school the next day, and Liz comes up and she's changed her hair, proof that this comic is not drawn by Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
And she wants him to see if he's impressed with her new look, but he's distracted and still in love with Betty, so he just kind of blows her off. And she gets all mad, but not mad enough to, give up on him. And then Flash comes by and starts making fun of her for talking to Peter, and she completely shits all over Flash's hopes and dreams.
I think that Dan just hates Spider-Man so much because he gets more bitches than Dan.
That's very possible.
I'm sorry.
But wait, Rick Jones is never in this comic.
I just thought of that, and I had to say it.
That was savage.
That was cold.
I thought of it literally 30 seconds ago, and I had to say it.
Sometimes
Raise your
the
hands.
truth hurts.
Everybody here has had more than one girlfriend.
I'm a romantic. I don't look for one.
Raise your hands. Everybody here who's had more than, say, 3 relationships is romantically involved with someone.
Oh, well, I can't, so.
Not counting your dog, Bill.
I'm Aro. I can't have a romantic relationship.
Okay. Just move on.
This means you two muggles need to shut the fuck up.
Because you see, you try.
No, I didn't try. I have a child. I was married.
Speaking of speaking of Dan's child, make sure to tune into tomorrow's. Tomorrow. We're recording our bonus episode for the month. I don't know what it'll be tomorrow because I still got to get a thumbnail, but we're recording the bonus shark episode for the December bonus episode of the month. So stay tuned for that. We will have Dan's child as a special guest. Yes, it'll be great.
You think Ryan's being savage? You wait till my daughter gets online.
Anyways, let's move on. We'll plug that again at the end, too.
So back on topic.
Please.
Mysterio shows up at the offices of the Bugle, and he gets Jonah to print in a message for Spider-Man with the promise that if he does, he'll deal with Spider-Man permanently. And so Jonah publishes the note saying that if Spider-Man wants to learn the truth about himself, he'll meet Mysterio atop the Brooklyn Bridge. And Jonah's all smug because Spider-Man's going to be captured. And Peter reads the message in the paper and puts on his Spider-Man costume and heads over to the Brooklyn Bridge, where he encounters Mysterio. And they start fighting, but Mysterio keeps outmaneuvering him. And so Spider-Man shoots webs at him, but Mysterio holds his hands out and the webbing seems to stop and just not reach him, and then evaporate. And Mysterio disappears into a cloud of smoke, and Spider-Man's all cocky because he's got a spider sense. And he goes into the cloud of smoke and realizes that his spider sense doesn't actually work in there. And Mysterio just starts pummeling him from in the smoke. And so eventually he bails and leaps off the bridge to get away because he's getting his ass kicked. I'll let you finish.
No, it's okay. I'm good.
And he comes to the surface, but he sees a police helicopter coming in. So he realizes he has to sneak away, so he makes a diving helmet out of webbing. Not really a diving helmet, just like a sphere of air around his head, encased with webbing. And uses that little air bubble to blindly swim to shore. And he gets out and goes home to dry out and sulks some more. And we see Mysterio getting a parade for catching Spider-Man, or for embarrassing Spider-Man. And everyone's in love with Mysterio except for Flash, who's convinced that Mysterio is just a big publicity hound, and he's still rooting for Spider-Man. And Parker's like, I think you're right, Flash, but Flash gets all mad because Peter's agreeing with him. And so we go back to Jonah's office, where he's there with Mysterio again, and he's talking him up as the man who beat Spider-Man. And he's going to pay Mysterio some money to defeat Spider-Man for good. And he introduces him to all his staff, including Peter, who sticks a spider tracer onto Mysterio's cape while shaking his hand, because clearly Mysterio hasn't learned the lesson of Dollar Bill and learned no capes.
Hey, do not diss Mysterio's cape. Okay, he's one of the few Marvel villains in green that actually adds a little color. Okay?
I was going to
That's fair.
say...
I mean, accessorizing is important.
It's seriously important when you're a Marvel villain because the fucking idiots make everybody, the bad guy, green.
I was going to...
They didn't make the Crimson Beetle green.
You completely ruined my joke. I was going to say at some point that I don't know how they ever thought this guy was the good guy because he's wearing green.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a little purple mixed in there, but
That's what tricked them.
He's conflicted.
Everybody loves purple.
Yeah, he's conflicted. That is the ugliest fucking t-shirt I've ever seen.
No, it's not. It's purple.
Look at that. Look at that. And that stupid looking crest. Oh my God. Ew. Speaking of having shit all over you, Amber Heard must have come to visit you. You're covered in shit.
You broke them.
I did.
Oh.
I did.
We're making some risky jokes this time.
We really are. Okay, Bill, sorry for interrupting.
So while they recover from that, I'll press on.
Soldier.
And so Peter leaves, and he's feeling pretty happy because he's managed to put a tracer on Mysterio. But Betty's worried that he's feeling happy because Liz is paying attention to him, and so we're getting the classic Marvel love triangle. And Mysterio disappears in another puff of smoke. But Peter's outside and has changed into his Spider-Man costume and tracks the tracer, locating Mysterio outside of a TV movie studio building. I guess back then they had special studios to make Hallmark productions.
Yeah.
And he confronts Mysterio, but Mysterio disappears in his cloud of smoke that he can't be tracked through and starts pummeling Spider-Man again. And Spider-Man is, since he's getting beaten so badly, he's like, well, I guess it was you who committed those crimes. You might as well tell me since you're beating me so badly. And Mysterio, since he has the upper hand, immediately tells Spider-Man his life story about how he used to be a movie stuntman, and then he became a special effects designer. And so he used his special effects knowledge to design all these gizmos that he used to impersonate Spider-Man. And then he decided that instead of just impersonating Spider-Man and committing crimes that Spider-Man would be blamed for, he'd instead adopt the persona of Mysterio and capture Spider-Man and be a hero.
Perfect.
As well as continuing to commit crimes. And so he explains how all his gadgets work. And starts to disappear back into his smoke cloud to beat Spider-Man up again. And Spider-Man reveals there's one piece of technology he had not really considered. A tape recorder.
Wow.
And so Spider-Man's taped his confession. And then he just doesn't go into the cloud of smoke and circles around the other side and punches Mysterio from outside the cloud on that side. And Mysterio goes flying through the wall of the studio. And so they fight through a bunch of movie sets. And now that Peter's figured out Mysterio's gimmick, he's outmaneuvering him at every turn. Because Mysterio doesn't actually have superpowers and Peter does. And he not only manages to capture Mysterio, but gets some pictures of him doing so. And so he takes Mysterio to the police, and Jonas showed up at the police station because he heard Mysterio was there, just in time to find out that Mysterio has been turned in, and they have the full taped confession from his own lips, and Spider-Man is completely innocent, and that the police have gone to Mysterio's hideout and found all the loot. And so Jonah is distraught because he's once again been talking about how he's got proof that Spider-Man is a bad guy, and it turned out to be wrong. So he storms back to his office, where he finds on his desk all the pictures Peter took of the fight. And so he realizes that he can just print an extra with all those pictures in it and save his business that way. And then Spider-Man shows up and mocks him for being made a fool of all the time and webs him to the ceiling and swings off. And then we cut back to school where everyone's like, yeah, Flash, you were right about Spider-Man. And Peter's now just gone back to hating Spider-Man to keep his identity secret. And then he swings off thinking about how funny it would be to reveal to Flash that his favorite superhero was actually Puny Parker, and that's how the story ends.
Well, that was pointless. Ryan?
I thought it was a pretty good issue. It's 4 stars
really?
for me.
Yeah, this is a 4-star.
Explain
Solid 4-star. It wasn't gonna get 5, but it was a solid 4.
This one never got close to 5 territory. It's one of my favorite Mysterio stories because they didn't go over the top on the mindfuckery. Because usually he does the whole thing where he makes Spider-Man think he's hallucinating and stuff, and I don't like those, but they kept it subtle enough that it wasn't just, oh, what's real, what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I think the upside is Mysterio. Actually, it's a cool design for a villain.
It is.
I think for its time.
I love
like
the fishbowl.
Yeah. Well, it's
I mean, I love the color scheme. Color scheme. It's been a long day. I'm tired.
Yeah, I think Marvel finally realized that green and purple are good colors for a villain. DC been doing it for a while, but whatever.
Yeah, just wait till next week, buddy, till we cover the Green Goblin. Fuck you.
Oh, I love the Green Goblin. He's awesome.
I just spoiled my tease for next week.
Green Goblin's my hero.
Yeah. I also like that Jonah's getting more coverage in this.
Yes,
he's not just a one-off
It's time
joke.
they started covering the proper focus point of this, the comic. The person we should be paying attention to, the real hero of the story.
I wonder when they're finally going to change the title to The Amazing JJJ.
I would read that.
Anyways, is that all our thoughts on Spider-Man, or are we going to let Dan go on for another 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, we're moving on. Next up is Tales of Suspense issue number 53, The A Story, which is called The Black Widow Strikes Again. And Dan, we know you missed last week, so Black Widow appeared last week. And she struck the first time with this big boy named Boris, he's like dead or whatever. Also, the Crimson Dynamo also died, so yeah.
Dynamo at this point was strongly implied to be dead, whereas Boris was shown to be dead.
Yeah, I mean, Crimson Dynamo's
Spoiler,
definitely dead. He doesn't
Dynamo
come back
is also
forever.
dead.
Yeah, but yeah. So Stan Lee and Don Rico's co-writing this. Okay, no wonder it was so shit. Don Heck on art. Sal Brodsky and Jack Kirby on the cover. Sam Rosen on letters. February 1964 release, and this one is for Dan, the cover.
But before Dan dives in, I want to call attention to the pseudonym Don Rico is using on this, because it is fucking Marvel glorious. Actually, it's more like 50s Batman glorious.
Okay.
N. Korok. It's just Rico reordered with an N stuck in for the first initial.
Uh-huh.
Brilliant.
It is such a shitty pseudonym.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Spider-Man comic. Anyway, so we're going to go on with Black Widow Strikes Again. Again, straight from the Marvel database. Here's your summary, people. Pay attention. After months of working on an it's not Spider-Man. Stay awake.
I'll save that. I'll save that for Giant Man. I'll save that for Giant Man. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, save it for Giant Man. After months of working on an anti-gravity device to no avail, Tony Stark arranges its circuits at random out of exasperation, causing the machine to miraculously work.
That's the Rico writing right there.
Yep, that's your mission.
That Enrico
right
guy.
Yeah, the device causes a gizmo to float above Stark's head, and Happy Hogan saves him from being crushed by its fall. As a result of being caught off guard by Happy's rescue, Tony drops the anti-grav device, causing its wires to fuse. While it still works, he can't analyze its makeup to recreate it. Okay. The following day, Stark tests the device in the Pentagon, causing the Pentagon to float above his head. A reporter that had gotten into the restricted area to gets a scoop, and the existence of the anti-grav device is reported by a diary. Said news arrives. This is really poorly written.
This story isn't that good.
Yeah.
I think Bill gives it a little too much credit. It's way worse than the last one, in my opinion.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah, having reread it, it's not good. I think I was mostly distracted by the relatively high-quality art in it.
Okay. Anyway, the Russians find out, and Khrushchev states stealing the weapon, the anti-grav device, would have been a perfect job for the Black Widow, if only he could find her. Following the frustration of her latest mission versus at the hands of Iron Man. Blah, blah. However, the Black Widow, who is still in hiding in America, acquires the information on the device by herself and plans to steal it to get it back to the USSR's, to get back in the USSR's good graces. Triple CP. We love everybody. She writes a letter to Tony Stark hoping to reconcile with him. A day later, Tony arranges a date with Natasha. The genius inventor seemingly falls for Natasha's charms and shows her the anti-grav device. After a little demonstration, Natasha uses a paralyzing gas on Tony and runs away with the anti-gravity machine. After Pepper finds him unconscious, Tony recovers from the assault and ponders that he's underestimated Black Widow. He had merely pretended to trust her in order to learn of her plans, but he didn't think she was going to act so fast. Well, you see, this is a place and time where fast women, they're a danger. And Tony suits up as Iron Man, goes looking for Black Widow, while he recalls his past encounter against her and her late partner, Boris. After using the device...
In this reality, Boris is defeated by Iron Man instead of Mouse and Squirrel. Or Moose and Squirrel.
Okay.
I don't.
Yes,
get
that
the
is where they
reference.
got the names, by the way.
I believe it. Boris and Natasha, yeah, absolutely. You don't get it, Ryan?
No.
Of course they don't.
Oh my God.
They haven't seen it.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Wow. Wow.
Dude, that was like when I was a baby, or even before I was born.
It was probably
Give me a break.
way before you were
It's
born.
20
be
years
honest.
before I was born.
Well, then it was really before I was born.
Okay, everybody watching this, anybody watching this, go watch some Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's brilliant.
Yes, do. It's really good.
You know, after using the anti-grav device to steal jewelry, the Black Widow calls to Moscow and asks Khrushchev if she's forgiven. Khrushchev forgives her and sends his men to track down Black Widow's call in order to help her.
Persecution.
Meanwhile, in Washington, a senator is interviewed by the press regarding the theft of Stark's invention, and he states that Stark's behavior was borderline criminal negligence, generating negative press about Stark's loyalty to his country.
Keep an eye on that senator. He's not named yet, but he will become important.
Hail Hydra.
Not
Back in his
that
lab.
type of important.
Oh, well, that's no fun. Back in his lab, Tony gives up on trying to recreate his invention and gets back to looking for the Black Widow. The villainous attacks Stark factories, causing objects to float and destroy the facility. Iron Man returns to his planet and repairs the damage, but the Black Widow has already targeted another facility. Later that night, Black Widow is surprised by the arrival of 3 fellow agents who have been sent to help her. One of them is eager to try Stark's invention and uses it on a car. Okay, the floating car catches Iron Man's attention, and let me quote this, and the Golden Avenger picks up the car and throws it at the origin of the anti-grav ray.
That's correct. That's exactly what happens in the comic.
Okay. He easily takes care of Black Widow's fellow agents, but she uses a reverse mechanism in the anti-grav ray to pin him down while she escapes, and then raises a building and lets it fall, crushing Iron Man beneath it. In the time it takes for Iron Man to escape from the rubble, Black Widow and her agents travel to Fort Knox. She uses the device to lift an entire mountain and neutralize the tanks and army forces charging at her. Iron Man arrives and slows the descent of the tanks before moving on to Black Widow. He uses a proton electronic charge that destroys the ray's output, rendering the anti-grav device useless. With the ray out of action, the mountain begins to fall, and Black Widow takes her chance to escape, while Iron Man rescues her fellow agents that were about to be crushed. Minutes later, Iron Man debriefs 2 soldiers about the fate of the anti-grav ray, and the 2 military men thank him for correcting Tony Stark's bumbling mistakes. And that is the end of our epic tale. So all you children go to bed now. We're done.
Okay.
How you doing, Ryan?
It's been a long day. That story was.
It's not that bad. It's not
It's
that
not
bad.
awful. It's not well
I mean, it's
written.
not-
There's a lot of little things that don't
Maybe.
make sense in it.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
just Dan then.
No, I'm just.
Fuck.
But no, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, the whole concept is strong,
Yeah.
right? Like
It's got Black
just-
Widow, so it's not fully.
Yeah.
Well, it's not an action-filled story like
No.
some of them. It's more of an actual
It's a
story
spy
with
story.
a start, middle, and an end.
It's supposed to be an espionage type story.
Yeah.
And,
And
The
it
only
is
thing
in
that
its own way.
happens is the only problem with it is that Rico keeps overlooking little details that don't make sense. Like Tony just randomly putting things into the machine casing and all of a sudden it works and does something.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he's throwing a card in anti-grav ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was not a smart scene. They had stuff like that, but the core story isn't bad, so I ended up giving this a low 3 stars. Like
I
it
gave
was
it a 2.
fun.
Well, the thing is that Marvel kind of gives everything away when they show Black Widow in her little tight dress and shawl, because she's not colored green, so she's obviously conflicted. She's not a true bad guy. Right?
She wasn't
Just
the first
saying.
one when she had that costume. She was fully evil. The only reason she's not
No.
still evil is she's fleeing from the Russians because they don't allow for...
No. If she was a true bad guy, she'd be colored green.
She's a
dress would be
spy.
green.
She's smarter than that.
No, I don't
She
buy it.
left her green dress in
Stan
Moscow.
Lee is not smarter than that.
I'm not going to argue that point.
Yeah, she may be smarter than that, but Stan Lee's not.
I can't believe this just became a bit. Oh my god.
So that's your first indication that she's not always going to be a bad guy. The fact she's not wearing green.
I think she literally stops being a bad guy. Like, there's like one more appearance of her as a villain, and then she turns. Because she's still a villain when she recruits Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You guys just refuse to accept that there's some good in her. She hasn't gone all the way to the dark side. Oh, no, wait, he was DC, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What?
See Story Tales Suspense number 53.
Well.
I'm glad I gave myself these quick stories because
Because go for it.
the way
Go
it
for
began
Come
is
on.
the story title, and we got Larry on this to co-write and do art, and Paul Ryman's on inks, and Artie Simics on letters, and this is a 5-page story. What a shock! So
Do it.
this is a story about the origin of the Watcher and the Watcher's gain. I guess they're a gain now. So I don't think the first two panels are really important to the story. But we see the Watcher as he watches throughout the universe, looking at the big galaxy in front of him, talking about how he has taken part to record countless events and is an active part of a never-ending of an endless cosmic drama. He's like, it was not always this way, though. It was very different back in the day. And we go back and forever ago as we see the Watchers were a clan of highly advanced beings that were alive since eons before the birth of our world. They live in a distant galaxy, and they're a wise, highly civilized race. They lived in harmony and floating cities.
Like Puff the Magic Dragon.
They took showers. Is that? Oh, they're like heat ray showers. I think it almost looks like a golden shower, not in the way that you might think, but it kind of looks that way. But anyways, the Watcher talks.
There, people.
The water. I get less of a filter when I'm tired. The Watcher talks about how
He also might be thinking of that after Amber Heard visited his shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Talks about he and his father were members of the world's governing body, and there was a day that the Watcher's father offered a radical proposal, saying that since their civilization is so advanced, they ought to share some of that with a different race, which is exactly what they do. But this backfires as the knowledge they share with an alien race that they meet ends up backfiring and leads to atomic destruction of that world instead of peace and harmony that they had wanted. So after that, the Watcher's father has them vow to never interfere in anything again, and that they shall only watch the events take place throughout the universe from now on. And that's essentially the story.
That was
better than most 5-pagers, I know.
Amazing. Exciting.
I gave this one a 2.
I went up to 3 mostly just because of the historical significance.
No.
It is the first time we see the Watcher's origin. It's pretty important, but it's kind of underwhelming. Also, It's only 5 pages. It probably would have been better
It will be told better in the future.
Yeah,
I think in Silver Surfer it gets told better.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a character, remember?
Yes.
We haven't met him yet, but we will.
Which is just as well. His books are painfully boring.
Yes.
And like 40 pages long.
He's kind of a pointless character, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good when he shows up as the Herald of Galactus. Once they start trying to tell stories about him and Stan starts trying to do philosophy, it's not good.
It goes down.
That does sound terrifying, Stan trying to do philosophy. No.
Oh, yeah, the first 10 or so Silver Surfer stories are just 40 pages of Stan ruminating on like the nature of humanity and evil. With a little bit of comic book action mixed in.
I've only read one Silver Surfer 5-issue miniseries. That's all I've ever read of Silver Surfer. So
it might be better in the future, but his first run is not good.
You are literally missing nothing.
Apparently, the Dan Slott two runs were really good, which probably terrifies Bill from PTSD on Spider-Man. But apparently, the Dan Slott stuff was really good for Surfer.
I mean, I'll say this: Dan Slott's not a bad writer. Those were very good issues of Iron Man.
I have no comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you're just making a joke because you know, or if you just got Bendis and him confused again, because you do that.
Dan Slott's the one that wrote the technologically advanced Spider-Man, right? Like where he had the company. No, I didn't get them confused.
I just got your joke. That was a good joke. I fucked it up. God damn it. I'm tired. He did write a really good Spider-Man in that run, yeah. Okay, so I got where you're going now. That was bad. Oh, I feel bad for ruining Bill's joke. Let's move on to Tales
you made
to
it
Astonish.
better.
Let's
okay.
Let's move on to Tales to Astonish.
Tales to
Astonish, issue number 56, the A story, which is called The Coming of the Magician.
Can we instead do the Kid Cult Outlaw that's coming up next in the expanded order? I'm sure Dr. Danger and the Invisible Godman won't be worse.
You might not be wrong.
I just noticed that and I had to say that.
I wish this was the going of the magician, but anyway. We have Stanley and Dick Ayers is doing the art on this one. Jack Kirby was like, I'm not fucking working on this title anymore. Cover art by Jack, and Sam Rosen does the letters. March 1964 release. I forgot this was 18 pages, and passing this one off the bill. Now I feel bad.
You get the crap one.
So we kick this off with a title on the splash page that looks like it's designed by a 6-year-old.
You do realize he's going to drag this the fuck out now, right? Just because it's so bad.
Well, we have a little time to work with. It's only 53 minutes in.
And so we open with Hank and his Giant Man guys arriving back at his lab, which is in a different location than the previous month's lab, because at this point they were not consistent about where he lived, so they just move it around regularly. And he shrinks down to Ant-Man to inspect the engagement ring he has bought for Jan. And
because the diamond's that small. Because he's that cheap-ass hoe.
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
So I'm the one that's going to drag this out, am I?
Hi, Bill.
I hate you so much.
Our Shark podcast is going to be 2 fucking hours tomorrow. That's ridiculous.
If it's
We're
not,
talking about Ant-Man's microscopic diamond.
Yes. And just then, Jan comes in as the Wasp flying in.
And she's like, oh my god, it's so tiny.
He's got the ring hidden behind his back. And he's nervous and wants to talk to her about something, and she picks up on the nervousness, but before they can have the conversation, she just remembers that she was running off to go to a party, thrown by Sterling Stuyvesant, who's apparently a swanky rich guy who she's known for years, despite the fact that he's never turned up in the comic before, and she figures that he's going to propose to her tonight. And so she leaves, and Hank's still like, well, shit, of course she likes him more than me. And so he throws the ring away, and sulks for a bit while an ant is desperately trying to get his attention on a view screen behind him. And eventually he starts paying attention, and the ant and the view screen reveals a magician at the Stuyvesant building. And so he shrinks down to Ant-Man and heads over there. And we cut over there where Stuyvesant is trying to get Jan's attention. He wants to ask Jan a question. And Jan doesn't want to talk about it until after the party. And just then, his entertainment arrives, known only as the magician, who is a magician.
Whoa.
Really?
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yes, we're creative with this
Clever.
one.
Clever.
And so
Damn, this
the
is so
magician's-
fucking bad.
Yeah. So the magician starts performing a bunch of magic, and eventually he makes a tarp appear in the air, and it falls over everyone, and when they're trapped under it, he steals all their wallets. And Jan
How
turns
exactly
into...
does he do that?
Don't worry about it,
It's
buddy.
not
Don't-
clear. It happens between panels. In one panel, they're all under tarps, and in the next panel, he's grinning like an idiot while holding wallets in his hand.
Okay.
Just go with it.
Yeah. Not going to argue. Oh, ting.
And so
Yeah, fuck Jesse's.
Jan turns into the Wasp and starts demanding he returns the jewels he stole and the wallets. And so he just opens up his cane,
Back
which
my
has
family jewels.
a vacuum
Here,
in it.
small air.
This chaos. This podcast is going off the rails.
bitty daddy back.
Poor Bill.
Sorry, Bill.
As if having to cover this isn't torture enough, we're just
Yeah.
fucking around.
And so anyway, he turns on his cane, which has a suction device inside it, because it turns out the way he was performing all the magic was he had the stuff concealed in his cane. He'd just either suck it in or blow it out as necessary.
So we can change it from suck to blow?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he sucks the Wasp into the cane and leaves by teleporting, thereby disputing the fact that all his magic is just
Fake.
illusions. But
Yeah.
we're not expecting consistency from a Giant Man story now, are we?
What a carny.
No.
And
Yeah.
so Sylvester comes out from under the tarp, and he starts looking around for Jan, who he wanted to talk to. And of course, she's not there. And Ant-Man arrives and grows back to normal size, and questions him, but he doesn't actually know anything about the guy except that he offered to perform at the party without even being asked. And so Giant Man shrinks back down to Ant-Man, takes off with his ants to go try to find where the magician has gone, and so he starts messing around with his scientific device and getting his ants to go out and spy. And none of them come back with anything, so he decides he has to lure him out of hiding. So he organizes a party that he's going to hold aboard the Neptune, which is a luxury yacht. And he sends out a whole bunch of invitations to rich, important people. And then when they come to get onto the launches to take them out to the yacht, he takes them to a different yacht where they can have their party. And he goes out to Neptune by himself and starts playing music and setting up a Home Alone style device with cutouts of people behind the windows, so it looks like the party's actually happening there.
So they're trying to save Rock Ridge. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Ryan won't get that reference.
No, of course not. They haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I was just letting you guys have your fun.
Oh, okay.
And
Have you
so,
ever seen such cruelty?
I haven't seen it. You're right.
Mongo only pawn in Game of Life.
Yeah. Oh, the Mel Brooks references are about to come out.
That was, if anyone heard that bang, that was the sound of my dog running headfirst into the door of my room.
Oh, Kuma Channel.
He clearly thought the
Mongo.
door was going to open.
Kuma Channel Mongo. Oh, Mongo loves Sheriff Bart.
No, Mongo straight.
Oh, shucks.
Anyway, pivoting away from the better media we could be discussing it right now.
We need to do a Mel Brooks cast.
We really do.
We do, just to cover some of Dom DeLuise's better moments. Now, watch me. Sorry, can't say it out loud. Sounds like steam escaping. Anyway. Oh, I think I broke Bill. Okay, Bill, sorry.
Back on topic, the magician shows up on the Neptune with the intention to rob everyone at the party.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no one actually there. And so Ant-Man grows to Giant Man size and throws it and goes to fight him, but the magician makes a tarp appear and suck around Giant Man's face. So he gets tangled up in the tarp, and while he's getting free, the magician climbs up a rope to a blimp to escape. And then Giant Man starts to chase him, but he notices some people on a sailboat whose boat is just sinking. So he goes and he helps them get their boat to shore so they don't sink, but this allows the magician to escape on the blimp. However, Ant-Man and Wasp can now communicate over their antennae that are on their headsets for reasons. And so he starts getting signals from Jan. So he lassos the blimp. And since he's too heavy as Giant Man to climb up, he turns into Ant-Man and climbs up and gets onto the blimp. And he breaks Jan out of the container that the magician had shoved her into. And starts fighting with the magician. And so the magician sicks an attack rabbit on him. But he grows back to normal size, which frightens the rabbit, and it runs away. And so then he goes to start fighting with the magician some more. And the magician decides to hypnotize him. And since he's giant-sized, he can be hypnotized in half the time as normal. And while this is happening, Jan has gone outside and climbed up on top of the blimp and let the air out of it. And so the blimp starts to fall out of the sky, and it eventually crashes into the ocean, and the police fish the magician out of the harbor. And Jan's all sad because Giant Man died, and then he comes floating down as Ant-Man on a paper airplane he folded while they were in free fall. And he floats down to Jan and grows back into normal size. And they hug, and everyone's happy. And that's the end.
Can we just pretend we never read this one?
I wish. This one's awful. It's 1 star.
It's horrible.
I'd say we reached rock bottom, but I've read 2 issues ahead of this.
So it gets worse?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, somehow.
This was terrible.
It's pretty much
it was.
consistent. It's pretty much consistently terrible until it gets replaced by. I think this is the one that gets replaced by Fury.
Okay,
No,
I can see
that's Strange
why,
Tales.
Yeah, I can see why
Torch gets.
Ant-Man never really
Okay.
hit
This one's Namor.
A-list. Yeah, no, but this is why Ant-Man never hit A-list, or even as Giant Man. It's not that interesting. It's not that entertaining, and his powers are he's either really tiny or really big.
And it's a lot less.
That's great if you're a porn star, but it doesn't do a whole lot for you in a Marvel comic.
And it's a lot less interesting when it's big too. But not.
Yeah, Ant-Man
that's not
at
what
least
she said.
offered
But
interesting stuff he'd have to do, but Giant Man just gets big.
Yeah.
And Dan, they even take the pills away. But just you wait.
Wow. Wow, that's cold. That is they've cold.
Pretty much taken the pills away at this point because there's no way he's eating a pill every time he changes size.
Yeah, you're not going to get a rise out of me over that.
Well, of course not. These pills aren't blue.
That's right.
Let's end this.
Please, God, end this.
Let's get this beast story out of the way. Beware the Bog Beast, it's called. As you can tell, I'm very excited to cover the story. It's a 5-pager. Chick Stone has the... Oh, he was the cover artist. That doesn't matter. Paul Reinman inks, and Larry does art and co-writing again. Artie Simics on letters, and off we go. Do I remember this story? Partially. So we go in...
cover it? Because I do remember it, and I can knock it out in like 5 sentences.
I mean, I was just kind of reading it what you were covering the last one, so I can probably handle it. All
right.
It doesn't really have a proper beginning and ending anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. But
no, they literally got bored and didn't draw the last page of the story.
Or they ran out of space and were like, we'll just summarize it in a paragraph or two.
Yeah, I think it was originally an extra page when they're reprinting, and when they cut it down, they had to make room for the framing device.
Yeah, exactly. So they just completely were like, fuck. But yeah, we open up with Hank exercising, and Jan shows up and wants to go for a date, but he's like, not now, I'm busy, can't you see? And get off my nose. And then he sneezes, and she flies away, and that's the most interesting part of the story. She's like, come on, Hank, be a sport, listen to my riddle and try to work it out. And then he's like, if you promise to leave me alone. And she starts her story, and we go back to times of kings and queens. It's on a far-off planet. Never mind, we don't go back in time. It's just a different planet. There's a beautiful princess who she mentions that is no Janet Van Dyne, of course. And there is a man that's after her heart, who is named Lorenzo. But her father, the king, comes and bans Lorenzo away from the property. You never to see her again. And she's like, but Max, is it her father? Maybe not, because she's like, but Maximus, I love him.
I think it's her brother.
That
doesn't
look like a brother. He's pretty old. But anyway, the king, Maximus, whatever, he's not Maximus the Mad, so he's not as interesting. He is like whoever proves his courage and skill by pitting himself against the creature called the Bog Beast, and whoever can face the Bog Beast can marry you, princess, whatever no name. She isn't given a name.
You can tell how important a woman is to the story about the woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Bog Beast is essentially just the rhino. And a first challenger that looks like Hercules Hernandez pops up and is ready to battle. He is unsuccessful. He's thrown off by the rhino and throws a tree at the rhino, but it cracks the tree with its horns and everything. And the Herculean challenger runs away. We see Lorenzo taking a nap by a tree, essentially, and is like, perhaps I could battle quietly, but I'm just a bit fatigued, so I'm going to take a nap. So this other guy pops up that looks like he's trying out for the role of Robin Hood or something, and he throws a net around the Bog Beast. Is like, well, shit, there we go. It's this giant-ass net. He's captured now. But joke's on this guy. The Bog Beast heats up and the net breaks, and that's where the story stops showing.
And then the guy runs back across the bridge before the story stops, and the bod beast is too heavy to follow him.
Yeah, but we don't get any proper closure to the story. What happens with Lorenzo taking on? But which is what Hank asked. He's like, "Oh, what happened? What happened? Did Lorenzo pull it off?" And Jan's like, "Oh, of course he did, unarmed and without expending any effort whatsoever." The lazy suitor freed the princess from her captivity, and thereby got the right to marry her. And thus ended the romantic tale. And he's like, "End it? Wait a minute, how did Lorenzo get past the bog beast? That's what I'm wondering. And what in the Sam Hill is the answer to the riddle?" And she's like, "The answer? Well, you were too busy lifting your weights, so I guess, to be interested in my riddle, so perhaps if you take me out to dinner, I'll tell you." So basically this was just about Wasp tricking Hank into taking her to dinner as they go to dinner in the last two panels.
The way he actually beat the beast was he just asked the princess to cross the bridge that the beast was already established to be too heavy to cross.
Clever.
There is no clever trick. There's no good moral to this story. It's just utter bullshit.
Page filler.
Yeah.
All it is just, oh, look, we've got 5 pages. We need to throw a story and make something up fast.
They don't even make it up.
Sure
they just pull from the archives.
Reprint. This one might have been written for this comic because...
Oh, was it? Oh,
I don't know because I haven't read all the old 50s stuff, and a lot of this wouldn't be canon to 616 anyway, so even on
I'm really happy they expanded the energy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dan's entirely right that this was just thrown together to fill 5 pages.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
Either way, it's 1 star.
Yeah, all companies were guilty of this crap.
Yeah.
You end up with 1 page too many or 1 page too few, and they just come up with something, anything to fill it. Oh, look, let's do a exclusive Spider-Man poster, or let's do an article on Tony Stark's inventions.
Yeah.
Just something to fill in the space.
Yeah. It makes for an interesting status with this issue, though, because I think this is the first time that we've had multiple stories in the same book, and all of them got 1 star. We've given it 1 stars before, but usually something else would pull up the book's overall rating.
And it won't be the last time that happens to Giant Man, believe it or not. Come back in 2 issues to see that the title has truly not reached rock bottom yet. Pretty impressive, honestly. You gotta almost work for it. But anyway, it's like when you do bad in school, you just gotta work to fail classes. Sometimes it's kind of like that.
To fail classes, it just came naturally.
Well, some of us have to work.
Oh, okay.
You're just special, Dan. Don't worry about it. But anyways,
I always thought so.
Hate to break it to you, but anyways, I guess we'll start teasing our projects to come, and I know my energy's high, so I'll try to pull it up.
Do this really quick.
Next week's episode of Route 616, our main comics podcast. We actually have a really good episode, coming up here. So that's pretty cool. And we're only going to have 5 entries next week because we have all full stories to cover next week. We're going to do 2 two-parters and a solo issue as we do Fantastic Four issue number 25, which is the Hulk versus the Thing. And the battle continues in issue number 26 as the Avengers come and help out too, because the Hulk's not put away in one go. Then we go into Avengers issue number 5, where we see the invasion of the Lava Men. Yeah, they're back. Well, it was one last time, but there's more than that.
It's hot.
It's the worst comic of the week. And we have Avengers issue number 6, where we finally meet the Masters of Evil, which is actually pretty good.
I'd argue that one's worse than the
but
Lava Men, personally.
I disagree.
Ooh, contention.
Yeah, Bill and I will disagree next week, I guess. And then we will end the episode off on Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos issue number 8. which is the Death Ray of Dr. Simo, which is actually a really good issue. I gave that one 4 stars, so it was really good.
And good coming immediately after Zemo's Master of Evil.
Also, yes, it's good timing. It's almost like it was done on purpose.
Yeah, I actually wish they reversed those two, but that would have broken the Avengers storyline. Because they pretty much need to run Avengers straight from the end of Fantastic Four through to the end of the Masters of Evil.
The other tease for this issue of Sergeant Fury is that we actually meet the Howling Commando, that it takes over Junior's spot. So they get a replacement fully now. So that's pretty cool. We'll meet him next time. And before we go fully as well, we teased it earlier, and we'll tease it again because we want people to watch it as we commence Merry Sharkmas tomorrow, as we record our December bonus episode and talk about some fucking shark movies. Do we know what shark movies we're covering? Because things have gotten weird. No,
well,
but
ice sharks, zombie sharks.
Ice shark is confirmed. Zombie shark's confirmed. We think, and then
Sky
there's
sharks?
2 up in the air. No, can't do that one.
Well, you never got around to delivering
didn't get the copy to you.
You never got the flash drive to them, so instead we're just going to yell about shark movies we like.
Well,
let's just talk about anyone we've seen that we like.
That's pretty much it.
We're gonna possibly come up with 2 more, but we'll see. It might just become a general shark movie conversation in which I get lost in the shuffle.
No grounds to talk to us about anything.
Yeah.
So we'll just mute your mic at
Kind of
the
like
start
the Halloween
and we'll
episode.
talk about it. And, yeah.
No, we want to hear them getting buried. Their reaction is the best part.
So yes, it should be a pretty fun episode. I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of fun dealing with 3 shark movie enthusiasts. So it should be a grand time. Because
boy, you are so in over your head.
Don't forget,
the entire fun of the issue will be basically them looking progressively more lost.
Don't forget we have guest star Dan's daughter coming on. So that's gonna also add to the fun.
She will also pile on you about not having viewed shark movies.
All these shark movies, yeah.
I'm fucked.
She's the biggest enthusiast of the bunch. So
Yeah.
You are toast.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad for me. Anyways, guys, on that note, we'll start our outro here. If you are watching on YouTube, probably the best way to watch it, unless you hate our faces, then I guess not. But please leave a like, subscribe, comment, even share if you'd like to. And we are also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you are listening on Spotify, click that poll connected to the podcast and let us know which issue was your favorite that we covered, and let us know why it was Tales to Astonish, because you're evil. Anyway, guys. We will see you all next week's main episode, and hopefully we'll see you all whenever the shark episode releases. We're recording it tomorrow, but I'm not sure when it's releasing yet. And anyway, guys, we will see you on the next one, and peace out.
Have a good one.